This video is another example of how to configure the Moodle Gradebook. Now this is another syllabus that I got from the internet, and it has a slightly more complicated grading scheme. There are 5 case studies worth 20%, 2 papers worth 30% of the grade, a class participation grade, and then midterm and final exams. On this page, I've already created assignments for both all of the case studies and the 2 papers, since I expect the students to be turning them in via Moodle. Now I'm going to go to my administration block and go to grades. We're going to jump straight over to the categories and items where we can configure how these things are set up here. Now you can see all of the assignments that are created are already put here in the gradebook. So we don't have to create those again. But what we do need to do is we need to create the categories that will hold the case studies and the papers, and then grade items for the class participation, the final exam, and the midterm exam. So let's go ahead and get that started. First, I'm going to look at my aggregation method again. Aggregation is simply how the grades are calculated in the gradebook, and the default is the simple weighted mean of grades. I'm going to change it, however, to the weighted mean of grades. And when I do that, the page will reload, and you'll see I get a new weight column here. This is going to allow me to customize how each of the grades are weighted against each other. Now I want to group the case study assignments into one category and then the papers into another category. So I'm going to go to the bottom and use the Add Category button. I'm going to name my category Case Studies. Within this category, I can also set a separate aggregation method. And because each of these case studies are weighted equally against each other, the simple weighted mean of grades will do just fine. So I will go to the bottom and click Save Changes. Now you'll see towards the bottom of your list you have a new category here called Case Studies, and there's nothing in it. So we want to take our 5 case study assignments and move them into this category. To do that, we can use these check boxes over here on the right. So I'm going to check the boxes for all of the case study assignments. And then all the way towards the bottom, underneath the Save Changes button, is a Move Selected Items To, and then a pull-down menu. I'm going to choose to move it to the category here called Case Studies. When I do that, the page will reload automatically, and you'll see that all 5 of the case study assignments are now part of the Case Studies category. However, we do want to set the value of the weight field for the category itself. And if we look back at our syllabus, we'll see that the case studies were worth 20%. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a 20 in this box. When you are typing in your weights, make sure that you go to the bottom and click the Save Changes button to ensure that that information gets saved. Now I'm going to create another category for my papers. So again, I'm going to go to the bottom, click Add Category. I'm just going to call this one Papers. And again, I'm going to use the simple weighted mean of grades aggregation method. So I will say Save. My new papers category is here at the bottom. Again, and it's empty initially. So we're going to use the check boxes again to select our 2 paper assignments, and then go all the way to the bottom to use the Move pull-down menu to move them into the papers category. So now I have the case studies category already set up to be worth 20% of the grade, and papers here is set up, but we haven't set the weight yet. So let's go back and look at our syllabus. Papers are worth 30% as a category. So we're going to go ahead and put a 30 in there and then hit Save Changes. Looking back at our syllabus, we have 3 other items we need to include in our gradebook: class participation, midterm exam, and a final exam. These are things that students are not necessarily turning in via Moodle, and so I just need to put some grade items into the gradebook so that I can enter the grades myself. I'm going to go back to my categories and items page, and this time I'm going to just choose add a grade item. This is for the class participation. And I'm going to grade it out of 100, and I'm going to click Save Changes. So now, in addition to the case studies category and the papers category, we have a grade item called class participation. And we're going to weight that grade item as 15% and click Save. Now I'm going to do the same things for both the midterm exam and the final exam. I'll click Add a grade item, call it the midterm exam, save it, and then I'm going to quickly just add the final exam grade item too. Add grade item, final exam, and save changes. And these appear at the bottom. And I'm going to set the weights of these items. The midterm exam was worth 15%, and the final exam is worth 20%. So I'm going to put 20 in there, and then click Save Changes. So now I have a gradebook where all of the case study write-up assignments are in a case studies category, which is going to be worth 20% of the grade. The 2 papers are in a papers category, worth 30% of the grade. And then I have 3 other grade items: class participation, worth 15, midterm exam, worth 15, and the final exam, worth 20%. If you go back to your View menu now, you'll see your case studies are here within the case studies category. And if you scroll over, you'll also see your papers category with the 2 papers and the class participation, midterm, and final exam items.